Hello and welcome to Jessie James Beads. My name is Jem and it's November, which must mean it's time to sparkle. Why don't we head down to the board and get cracking on a little bit of a stargazer project together? The November Magical Mystery Bead Box 2024, Snowflakes and Stardust. What a gorgeous collection of celestially inspired pieces. So inside the box of gorgeousness, you've got these fabulous golden star frames called Let's Stargaze, and the glittery night sky that is these fabulous crystal rondelles. So I'm going to show you how to take these and turn it into this. So we're going to wire wrap on using 26 gauge wire, and I've chosen some gold colour wire to complement the golden tones of the Let's Stargaze frames. Let's pop that up there for reference. I've taken a quick look at the beautiful rondelles, and what I've done is I've added them on directly to my spool of 26 gauge wire. So I've added on probably more than I need. What you can't do is add on more without cutting the wire, and we don't want to cut the wire. So do make sure that you've got plenty of beads all threaded on. You can always slide them back into the bag or the box later. They don't have to stay on there forever. So let's grab one of these out of the way and pick the other one up ready to go. We're going to begin by starting near the post of the lovely star frame, the Let's Stargaze frame, and I'm just going to unspool a couple of extra inches from the spool of wire so that I'm not working against it. Let's begin by putting around about an inch of wire over the top of that beautiful Let's Stargaze frame and wind that around a good 4 times. Now you can choose to go for 3 wraps if you prefer, but because we're working with a lighter weight wire, at the beginning I do prefer to have an extra wrap. So let's take that around and see how many wraps we've got. If your weaving is a little bit on the baggy side, don't worry, because what we're going to do is just add a little bit of tension by pinching the end and pulling it away. Let's just push that down and smush it relatively flat, but very, very softly. So there's only 3 wraps there, which is not a problem. I'm going to tighten up those little wraps first of all, but I'm not crushing them hard. I'm going to bring that all the way around one more time. Now you'll notice that the cut end is closest to the pin. So let's draw that up towards the pin. I'll show you the underside where the cut end is raising up just a little bit from that frame. So I'm going to very carefully make sure that all of those 4 sections of wire are nice and tidy side by side. Pull the wire away from the frame and give that a nice soft little squish. And we're just setting an intention in the wire for it to stay there forever. So once you're happy, you can scooch that up towards the pin, but it doesn't need to be right on top of the pin. You don't want to make your earlobe uncomfortable. You can of course wear it just a little bit further away if you wish to, but near but not completely against the post. So let's flip that back over to the other side. My finer gauge wire is currently underneath the frame and coming away, and I'm just going to slide in one of the crystals from the strand. Push that down firmly but not hard against the outside of the frame. So it's not underneath, it's not on top, it's on the outside of the frame, and then support that in position whilst you draw the tail of wire over the top firmly. And if I just let go for a second, you'll see that that firm pull doesn't smash the crystal. I'm not looking to break anything, but I do want a nice strong angle on this piece of wire. Continue to support the rondelle whilst you draw the tail of wire that's connected to the spool all the way round and very neatly underneath. We're looking for this to pass as close as possible to the first strand of wire over the top. So I'm going to wrap 3 times between each rondelle. So that's a second pass of wire over the top. You can see that glinting in the light, and then we will add a 3rd pass of wire over the top and draw it around underneath. Now these 3 wires on both the front and the back need to be side by side. You don't want them crossing over. You do not want it to be crossing over the top of the other wires. They need to be side by side. So let's bring the next crystal in, slide that on down and push it against the frame. When you're making earrings, the ideal will be to have the same number of crystals as you have on the first earring on each bar of the star. At the end of the day, it's going to be so glittery and stardusty and snowflakey and beautiful that if you don't have an exact number, it's not the end of the world. It is merely something to aspire towards. So let's draw that wire again sharply up so that my crystal sits firmly against the frame but doesn't get pulled. So let's draw that all the way around once, twice and 3 times. Every time you finish that 3 little wraps, you can scooch these up neatly. Now, I'm not precious about my nails. I work with wire every single day, have done for the last 11 years or so. So my nails are relatively strong, but not terribly attractive. Therefore, if you are a little bit more precious about your nails, you can tighten those little wraps up very, very gently and very, very softly. What we don't want to do is put any pressure on the crystal. So those are now very firmly in place, and I'm just going to see how many I have on the first downstroke. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 in the nexus. So I do need to just scooch that up a little bit, and I can pull that wire away later. So let's go for a third. And we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3. Scooch those wires up into position. Bring the next bead all the way down. It's like it's travelling on a zip line, the lucky thing. So I'm going to hold my 4th crystal in position, draw the wire over the top, and then wrap 3 times around, scooching every time I do those 3 little wraps to make sure that they are neat. And you can add a very, very gentle touch just to set them in position. Now, I like the idea of having a little crystal on the inside margin of that first bend. And I'll show you how you can continue wrapping with a continuous single length of wire. Hold your crystal in position, and then we're going to continue to wrap the wire, but just support it in position with your non-dominant nail. So you can just pop that over the top and hold that whilst you bring the second pass of wire, push that up so it's nice and neat and tidy, and then the third pass of wire, and then you will continue as you did before. So once you get to the final leg of your star, we're going to stop adding on the crystals until you reach that final point. And then what we're going to do is to continue with naked wire, so no crystals on this bit. And we're going to wrap around and around and around as many times as matches your first earring. So what I would recommend is to add on a little bit of pressure and tension. So you can see that I'm pushing up with my nail just to get that nice and firm together. But you can also use a tool to achieve that. So if you take your pliers and you just give that a little bit of a compression, putting one side of the pliers above to the right and the other side below and to the left, on opposite sides of the frame, you can give that a very, very soft compress, and that will help it to all come together. Making sure you're not squishing any of the crystals, you can give that a very gentle compress and then continue. Now, you could measure or you could count the number of wires that you add around that last little bar. But basically what I tend to do is eyeball it, and then when I think it's about right, I'll offer the 2 frames up together side by side to see if there is enough wrapping going on. I'm just going to give that a couple more turns of wire, and then I'm going to compress the whole thing up together, just making sure that those passes of wire are as neat and flat as possible. Let's hold that up and see. So I think I need maybe 1 or 2 more little moments. So we're going to wrap around 1 or 2 more times, and then we will make sure that everything is good and secure. So you can hold that little bit of wrapping in position once you've trimmed away. And what I've done is I've left a tiny bit of a tail of wire that I just need to squish, gently turn, and make sure it sits down flat. Now I'm going to compress the second part of that wrapping I did, and then again push it all together. If you pop your thumb up underneath, you can compress the whole lot together and then give it that one last gentle squish. We're not crushing. And there you have your amazing Let's Stargaze earring frames, all wrapped up with those gorgeous crystals. I hope that you will enjoy the Let's Stargaze project from Snowflakes and Stardust, which is the Jessie James Beads Magical Mystery Bead Box for November 2024. My name is Jem. Have a lovely day.